As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
The shocking number for me was the 42%. That, I think, was even more surprising than the 27% of non-gamers, was the 42% of basically all adults. Like, that means if you ask every adult, like half of them are going to pretty much think they know what the metaverse is. I think that's really high penetration for a word, let's be honest with each other, outside of like hardcore kind of sci-fi, crypto, tech, gaming kind of circles. Was not something that people talked about openly. Like, it was not.
Well, let me put a little context behind that. Everyone I know who says, I know what the metaverse is, follows up with, it's just like Second Life.
Which, they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Right? But there's no mention of, smart contracts and Web3 development and digital asset ownership and NFTs and all of that. It's just like, it's Second Life. We're all going to live online even more. So.
But again, if you're a Decentraland, you're a Sandbox, you're any of, call it, the metaverses that we talk about today on a daily basis, right? Pretty obvious from this chart who your ideal target audience is, right? If you're trying to market to them, this becomes pretty obvious. Tom has a question for you, Ben. He says, "Is this the first set of data? Is there something from 6 months ago?"
I was thinking that too.
I wish. We are, one of the nice things about YouGov is we can adapt quickly to starting to get a pulse on these trends as they, kind of rise above the fold and into the, basically we're trying to capture what marketers are going to care about. So once marketers start to think about where they can invest and the metaverse became an option, it was like, okay, we need to get this in here. So I don't have 6 months ago. I wish I had my crystal ball and could look back. We'll see where it is 6 months from now. I think, metaverse though, I also wish I could see it before Facebook changed their name to Meta, like how much that did. Because that, that raised so many headlines and I think awareness in general. But maybe it's because I'm a sci-fi nerd, but I was familiar with what a metaverse conceptually was 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so I think as a concept, it's been around since the 90s. And, again, it would also be interesting to drill into a lot of these people who say they're confident they know what it is and ask them what it is. And you'd find that half of them would be like, no, you're way off.
Ben, you don't have a crystal ball, but you do have a data cap. And that's just as good, I think. Let's move on to the next one here. This is the metaverse is the future of online interaction. I'll let you talk about this slide, Ben.
Yeah, it's similar. And there's like 4 or 5 of these about the metaverse. These are all new statements we added a little over a month ago, or a little more, 2 months ago. What stood out to me here was the casual gamers, non-gamers actually are a bit more bullish on the metaverse being the future of online interaction than casual gamers. Now, I think the casual gamer group, that can include people who are, mobile casual gamers. We look at like the demographics of each of those groups. It skews a lot older, more female. And so I think there is, maybe a big portion of the non-gamers who are still techies, even though they're not gamers. And so they do see still that the metaverse is kind of the way that the internet is headed. And so there's not necessarily a direct correlation, although a very strong one. But then similar trend here as you get to that kind of core, mid-core, and hardcore gamer bucket, they're a lot more just bullish on this is what we're all going to be doing in a matter of time. And I think the 18 to 34 group, obviously they're always going to stand out. And I was even looking at some 18 to 24 numbers as well, and it's I got to look at teen data too. I think we have a question or two among 13 to 17-year-olds. It seems like there's no turning back now. People are waiting for that to kind of take on, be what everyone's doing.
I mean, what stands out here for me, Ben, is there's really a pretty significant difference between someone who's a casual or mid-core gamer and a hardcore gamer, just in terms of your interests, your knowledge, your sort of your, what you agree and disagree with. Like, these are very distinct groups in terms of what they like, what they know. And I think that's fascinating because sometimes gamers just get lumped all together. And in reality, there are some clear distinctions. Jimmy, I don't know if anything stands out in particular for you here, or anything that...
Honestly, my only, and this is not a criticism of the questioning. It's just funny that the adaptation or the affirmation of this statement, I mean, it's across the board, but to me, it's not something that you agree or disagree with. It's kind of just a fact that the metaverse is the future of online, your interaction. That's my personal take, my opinion. So I guess I'm part of that 81% hardcore. But similar to the Tom, I think, asking about the previous graph, I would imagine, as Ben and as YouGov keeps putting out great data like this and comparing across time, that we'll see this rise sharply across the board. So because again, I just don't think that there's a question here. So other than that, it's a really interesting distinction that you pointed out between non-gamers and casual gamers. And I wonder why that is. I wonder if that's because non-gamers also get the trend and get the, they kind of hear from their friends, they hear from culture and kind of just seeing what's going on and feel that way, versus casual gamers that know that there's a lot of building out that needs to be done. Maybe they haven't, they know that VR isn't really 100% there yet, or that these metaverse rooms and showcases are, again, there's just so much to be done, right? It's an idea, we're building towards it, but it's very early days. So maybe that's why casual gamers feel that way. I don't know.
Our very own Jeff the Juice Cohen is living, breathing proof of this.
I love hearing in real time other people's perspective on these things, because it also, you're asking all the right questions. You guys, everyone in the comments, and you, Jimmy, and Lindsay Paul. There's other ways we could dig into the data. Like, this is a 5-point scale, and I've rolled up. So it's a 5-point scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And if we had just isolated the strongly agree to this statement, that might tell a slightly different story.
Yeah.
So I love it. Anyway, I want to be up all night digging into this data.
Adam says, I wonder if the non-gamer sees a FaceTime type metaverse as a future path, not necessarily gaming. Very interesting, though, that they are higher than casual gamers. Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I suspect also the non-gamer category may be more influenced by the Meta kind of announcement, right? Like, people who spend a lot of time on Facebook and that's their online interaction. So if Facebook tells them that this is the future, maybe that hits home more. But it's a good thought. Kevin says, Ben, did you touch on the differentiation between the gamer segments? Is it self-reported as a casual, mid-core, hardcore? I may have missed that, but I'm curious.
No, great question. I didn't touch on it, but I can. So this is a self-identification question. It's one of a few ways that we could define gamers. Another option could have been isolated by time spent playing on certain devices. But this one is simpler. So it's a 4-point scale. The non-gamer says they're not interested in video games. Casual is, I like video games, but they aren't one of my top interests. Or mid-core is, video games are one of my top interests, but I don't take them too seriously. And then hardcore is, I take video games seriously or play them competitively. So that's the scale.